Hi everyone, Sandman here. This video is brought to you by a donation from Mr. Anonymous, and here's what he has to say. Hey Sandman, before I decided to go my own way last month, I was rigorously into the dating scene through online apps. In fact, I spent the entire year of 2016 trying to find a woman that was good for me to no avail, and I've actually been unsuccessful with regards to that regard. Besides coming across STD-infected bitches that just want a free meal, I actually felt like this particular one I'd met could have actually been something more. Let me explain. I started talking to this female in the beginning of October, and to my surprise she messaged me first, which isn't a common thing for women these days. We had similar career interests. She was going to school for computer engineering, and I was already thinking about going back to school for networking. She seemed to be really there when I needed her, when I complained about how bad work was at first. She seemed very sympathetic, so she basically would always text me first. There were actually a couple of times when we quit talking because of a disagreement in terms of how we were trying to develop things. A week after the first time she messaged me saying how she didn't like how I accused her of whatnot, which I didn't. I would kind of assume and ask her about things that I would actually expect as being shady. Fast forward to a week before we met. She had told me that she had actually lost her job, and now she actually wasn't sure what to do, as well as actually a pending ticket that she had to pay off. I offered because I felt that she would have given up on me if she was interested in just the money. At first she was hesitant, and after driving 2 hours to meet her, there we were. I asked to see the ticket just to make sure, and she agreed to that, but she actually wanted to see how the date went first as well. We decided to get something to eat, came back, and watched some movies. But she couldn't stay away from her phone worth a damn. So I laid my head on her shoulder and tried to be nosy. She was mostly talking to a girlfriend. Anyway, I tried to grab her and be affectionate, but she would actually frown at me and tug me away. She claimed it was due to being old school, and also claimed to be a virgin. However, later that night we managed to get naked, and the way she was actually kissing me was reminiscent of a freak. As I got on top of her, she clenched her legs behind me, indicating that she wanted me to go deep inside of her, but my spidey senses started tingling. If she was old school and a virgin, she wouldn't have been so openly inviting for me to go balls deep. So I stepped back and just laid there because, for all I knew, she was trying to suck me in and possibly get me into something that I couldn't get rid of. The next morning I turned over and she grabbed her ticket and folded it, but in a sneaky type of way, as if she was actually thinking, okay, I let you stay the night, time to pay up. Being the dumbass that I was, I went to get the money. The very next day I was fired from my work, and I told her just after that we agreed that I was actually going to take her to lunch. She acted shocked and told me, yeah, you didn't need to waste your time coming up here. And after that we got into a texting argument that lasted roughly 6 hours. Suffice it to say, after that she stringed me along telling me that we shouldn't talk for a few days, and then she would let me know if things were going to work out, which they didn't. I still feel kinda sad because I feel if I didn't get upset, we would have actually worked out. Sorry for the long message. Do you have any advice? I feel like she was a gold digger after all. It sucks not to have any closure. Well, Mr. Anonymous, thanks for your topic as well as your donation. The first noticeable red flag in this particular situation was that she was the one contacting you instead of the other way around. I've often found that when women are desperate for attention or they're gold diggers, they will often contact men first that they see inferior and make guys think that their luck is basically the best in the world. But when you finally meet that woman and you basically go on a date with her, such women usually expect you to pay, and they often never offer you a dime or anything. For some reason they seem to feel entitled for what you have simply for being the first ones that contacted you. What I also find really interesting is she was actually pretending to play hard to get early when you actually met her sexually, but at the same time she contacted you first, so I'm thinking that she was attracted to you. She probably was attracted, but also didn't want to actually come across as being an easy tramp, looking to basically have you pay off the ticket, even though she took off her clothes and pretty much did that. She didn't have a job, or so she made you think that, and she probably tried to trade sex for cash. No big deal if she was attracted to you. Imagine if you as a man could go out and find an attractive woman when you actually lost your job, slept with her, and she would cover all your expenses. A lot of guys would go for such a great deal because they get laid and she pays you for the privilege. Just imagine being on the opposite end of that trade for 1 second. With regards to her being in school for computer engineering and you going back to school for networking, that could also have been a female chameleon that you're dealing with. I know a lot of women that actually met their husbands when they were both in school for the same program back in the day. Now the guys continue to work in the program and actually have jobs in their field, but the wives often stay home. It was all an elaborate mating dance to get the guy to become the main provider. When this girl mentioned that she just lost her job, that was also a red flag, code word meaning, open up your wallet and bend over. When women are desperate, they're often willing to approach men first instead of waiting for the guys to hit on them. Why are they desperate in the first place? It could be a number of reasons. Maybe they're mentally unstable. Maybe they see you as a man that's better than they've been able to attract in the past, so they're actually aggressively trying to catch you and get you to fall in love, because they're insecure and they're potentially worried that they can't do any better. As for women providing closure, that's a completely different story. Far too often, women don't give us any closure at the end of a relationship. They make up their mind that they're actually going to kick us to the curb. One day we're hanging out with them like nothing is wrong, and then the next day she calls you and doesn't want to see you again. Emotionally, you the man are devastated and she's a smooth, cold, and calculating emotional monster. Of course, the reason she's doing this is because she's probably told guys before in person that the relationship was over, and the guy couldn't accept it and probably got either aggressive or threatened violence as a result. I find that generally women that don't want to be with you anymore and fear for their own safety or are worried about you getting angry and responding in an inappropriate way will usually get one of their friends to be around in the background if you ever actually meet them again. Because that's clearly not that obvious, and if you call them out on that type of bullshit, they will often just make up an excuse and use plausible deniability. But I find that the majority of women out there will be courteous enough to give you one last long phone call or series of conversations to give you some sense of closure from a distance, so that you won't actually be coming along in the future and trying to make trouble for her. She wants you to get the message and stay away, but she doesn't want to tell you the message in person. This woman is not a gold digger in my mind. I think she slept with you because she thought you were hot and because you would actually pay the ticket, and you did. Chalk this up to a learning experience, and think of it like an experience with an escort. You probably paid somewhere around $100 or slightly more if it was a speeding ticket, and that's probably what you would have paid with a cheap hooker. But unfortunately, you got emotionally involved after being with her just one time. I don't know how old you are, and if you're actually younger, that's probably why you feel this way and the way that you do. My suggestion is that you forget the situation and look at that 6-hour texting argument as her trying to break things off with you and give you closure by pissing you off so that you would forget her. Obviously, it didn't work and it left you thirsty for more attention. Forget the whole thing happened and move on with your life, and consider yourself lucky that you got 6 hours worth of closure, because some relationships that last for years and years, sometimes even decades, get far less. I think she would have actually seen you again if you'd actually met her for lunch or dinner like you'd originally planned. But you losing your job, she probably didn't believe that. She probably just suspected that you thought that she hadn't been fired and that she was actually making all of that up. She might have also thought that you had sex or intimacy with her as a one-night stand, and she potentially felt used as a result. I'm not exactly sure because you didn't mention what happened during the 6-hour texting marathon. I think the point where things stopped working out for you was when you actually mentioned losing your job and that you weren't going to take her out for lunch. I think up to that point you could have actually slept with her if you wanted. You also discussed women using you for free meals and that this one could have actually led to more, but don't beat yourself up and get one-itis from this woman. Because it's a one-time thing, and I'm guessing that you've gone on a lot of dates where things didn't get to the point where they were with regards to sleeping with the woman that you went out with. I don't think your case is isolated, and I believe that a lot of guys out there these days have actually been in so many first dates where nothing happened that getting to sleep with a woman, any woman, might actually feel like she's the one. But to her, you're just another drop in the bucket for her wet knickers. This idea of getting closure is also messed up because women know that guys are more emotional, and if they really want to be mean, they can prevent you from getting that closure because they know that you'll actually feel pain. Women, on the other hand, don't often need closure because the next man out there is hitting on them the next day, and they're filtering men to find the one that's actually better than you. Your observations about STD-infested women looking for meals is fairly accurate as well. I see so many women out there these days with caked-on makeup to basically cover the pus sacs around their lips. Most of them, if you question them with regards to how many sexual partners they've had, they'll say stupid things like, they slept with more men than they should have, which means they can't really get enough cream filling from some dude's Pillsbury Doughboy. I'm not sure if this woman that you actually were with, Mr. Anonymous, was a gold digger. I believe you needed to be with her a lot longer to make that assessment. She sounds more like a prostitute trading sex for speeding tickets rather than girlfriend material. I'm glad that you also finally went your own way after spending a year looking for a woman online using various dating apps. There's a reason these women are still single. It's either STDs or they basically have mental issues, and none of the men around them in real life are interested in them, so then they go online. If a woman can't attract a quality man in her real life with tons of men around her, then she goes online and there's usually something wrong with her, or all the good men around her are taken, so she basically has to go online to increase the pool of available dicks. She goes out cocksurfing. As for men, we tend to be less social by nature, and unless we're actually in the top 10% of men, women aren't just voluntarily coming up to us and asking us to hang out in our vicinity, hoping that we take notice of them. So instead we go online and hope that given enough female eyeballs, some of them might find us attractive enough for some reason. But the odds are pretty high that we're going to get hit on by the rejects, and let's be honest, most of the women on dating sites are rejects, so I'm glad that you finally gave up. As for all the men out there getting dumped suddenly with no warning and for no good reason, it really sucks not having closure in a relationship, because you want to at least figure out what you did wrong so you don't repeat the same mistakes over and over again the next time. But women don't generally like telling guys what they did wrong. But whenever I ended relationships with women in the past, they would demand answers. Obviously, they didn't want to repeat the same mistakes again in the future, and they became desperate for an answer. Guys just want to have a woman around and linger so emotionally they can say goodbye. Anyways, that's all I've got to say for today. Thanks again, Mr. Anonymous, for your donation as well as your topic. Don't forget to smash the like button and check out the MGTOW mystery link. As for everyone else out there, please follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills. And remember, a red pill a day keeps the one-itis away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.